Hello, everybody. Welcome to chapter 211 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition and the final installment of our Scroll Saw Stand series. So, if you want to see how this ends, all you need to do is stay tuned. Well, last week when I left off, basically the stand was to the point where the plug welding was done, it supported weight, and really all that remained for this video is the finishing. Um, so that's what's going to happen. But as I've been working on these scroll saw stands, I've been watching a lot of scroll saw video content. I have a TV in the shop here, which is really handy. Um, it's amazing the importance that some of these scrollers put on the stand. And as I work with this, I'm really understanding why that is so important. So I'm really happy with the fact that I undertook to build these. Like I said, buying them would have been a good option if I'd have had it, but I didn't. So we built them. Yeah, in this video, basically all that's left is the finishing. And to get that finishing started, the first thing I did was spray paint the carriage bolts that went into this stand. So I'll just take you over to the bench where I was painting. Well, I'm not sure how important this is, but when I looked at that original stand, I decided, okay, I wanted to basically clone it. So all my saws looked factory. And so they all have like the bolts that hold it together are painted black or are black on the original. So that's what I'm going to do now. One of the neat things for when you're putting or painting hardware is to put it in a cardboard box. And old pop flats work great for this. So I need 12 per, so I'm going to paint them all right away. So I'm just going to, sometimes you can just pop the bolt through, but in this case, I really don't want to work that hard. So I'm just cutting an X in the cardboard, and I only have a few more to do here. This doesn't take very long. This is an old trick I used to, when I was in the process of restoring my square body four-wheel drive, which I sold to buy my lathe, my Laguna. This is just a great way to paint hardware. Whoops. Come on, I don't want to lose them. See, and they just push in. All I need to paint is the head, so I don't need to paint the whole bolt, or I'm not sure if I'm going to paint any of the nuts. I don't think I will, unless they're going to be seen. I got one extra on that row, which is excellent because I need to do at least one extra. Okay, and we're just about there. And this is another extra here. Always nice to have a couple extra. Okay, well, the next step is we're going to throw some paint on them, but I need to put something underneath this so I don't get my work surface, as compromised as it is, but I don't do even more paint on it. So we'll come back when I'm ready. And the painting is now very straightforward. I've got a little bit of a tarp under here, So I'm just going to spray them. This paint can is just about empty. And I think they're covered pretty good, but I think I'm going to give them one more coat. So, and I don't know if I'll bother showing you that because it's just doing this again. So we'll be back on to probably going over the stand with flap disc. See you later. All right, well, now that I have one coat of paint on the carriage bolt heads, it's time to start preparing this for paint. And after I finished editing the last video, I just took a little bit of lacquer thinner and a shop towel, and the marker came off really, really easily. It was no problem at all. So I've done a little bit of prep already. However, there's one byproduct of my welding if I didn't do everything perfectly, and I'm finding that I'm just having more trouble seeing when I weld. I have to fix that somehow. But I've got a few places where the weld came through to the outside. There are a couple of places where, oh, here, a little bit of wire I burned through, and because that hole was right on the edge, and there's a little bit of wire there, that has to come off. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that with a flap disc, and I'm going to try to do it on the table here. It's still relatively early in the day, and I make a habit of coming back into the shop late in the evening just to check on things. So anyway, I'm going to get going with the flap disc, and then I think for the rest of it, like there's a little bit of a sharp edge there. It's on the inside. See if I can get rid of it. Yeah, that takes it off. And then I think for prep, just for a painting surface, I'm just going to lightly go over this with 220. And then I'm just going to paint 2 coats of gray. I'm not going to bother priming. And they're going to be done. Well, okay, I'll put the feet on and bolt the saw on. Oh, by the way, I drilled the holes to put the saw on off camera. I had to position, and I'm finding it difficult when I'm trying to shoot video and having to work around things and get things in order, and then you don't know what to edit out, and sometimes it's simplest just to do it and talk about it later. So anyway, I'm going to get going with this, and we'll see. I don't know if you need to watch all of this. It's basic sanding, so here we go. And now it's time for the part of this project that I enjoy about the least. Sanding and wood is bad enough, but grinding metal, I don't know. I just don't find a lot of pleasure in it. I have 4.5-inch grinders. That's the way my shop is set up. I learned that in the school system when you buy all kinds of grinders and because they're cheap, and then you've got to stock all kinds of consumables for them. And I gave up. Princess Auto put some Bosch 4.5-inch angle grinders on sale a few years ago. It was a great deal. I think they sold them in 2 packs for about $100 Canadian, which is very good. And I've used them. I'd really like to have one more because I'd like to have a zip disc or a cutting disc, and then a flap disc and a grinding disc. So those 3 discs mounted in grinders that you can just pick up and use. What I would really like is a cordless one. I have Bosch cordless tools kind of by accident, but I've been happy with them. And if I could justify the cost of adding a cordless one to my fleet, I would. But right now, they're almost $200 without a battery. And, I just can't justify it. So we're going to keep going like this and be done with it. After I finished the grinding, I went over this with 180 grit sandpaper just to take all the sharps off. These pieces of angle must have been sheared out of a larger sheet because they had one sharp edge on them, and I just wanted to get that off so people didn't accidentally cut themselves if they moved it, because it was quite a sharp edge. But yeah, I sanded the whole thing with 100 or sorry 180 grit, and yeah, it's tedious and I don't enjoy it, but it is necessary. The one thing that I did clean up with the flap disc was little welding errors. For example, on the face side, when you plug weld, there's always kind of a heat circle. Well, I polished those off, and things went, more or less as I expected. A couple places where wire had come through, dealt with that, and overall it went fairly well. I probably didn't spend as much time on it as I should have, but in the end, I'm happy with it. So, yeah, whether it was just I was tired of it and it was good enough, or I was happy with the quality, that was the way it went. So, yeah, it was a little awkward to move around, but this stage of the project actually went fairly well. It didn't take very long, and we were all done. Well, now that all the sanding's done, it's not perfect, but I mean, for a scroll saw stand, I think it's plenty good enough. Off camera, I painted the inside already, and I did a terrible job of that. I held the container way too close. I am painting inside, which I'm not crazy about, but the weather, I might be able to spray outside, but I wouldn't be able to dry outside, and I got to carry it when it's wet. And I thought, well, like many times I've sprayed in here, and I don't like to do it, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm using this Rust-Oleum product. Which gray is this here? I don't know if it says on the can. Satin granite. Okay. I thought it was the closest color. I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna climb on this little ladder here to get the top done, and remind me when I'm spraying to keep the tip further away than I was down here. That's your job. Okay, here we go. Just going to, and I'm just going to try to give it a light coat. And give it two or three rather than one thick one. Yeah, just keep that tip away. Ah, that's going on better. Oh, there I'm going to have a run. That whole side is running. There. Now we'll just spray it lightly again. There. Much better. Okay, I think I've got everything on that side. I really wish I had a good painting and spraying setup. I'm going to have to look into having how to figure out, looking at figuring out how to do that. I've got my shop air cleaner going. It's moving the air a bit anyway. Not sure if that's a good thing or not, but I'm I'm pretty tough when it comes to fumes, so this is by no means overpowering me yet. Yet. So far so good. And we're just about finished first coat. I wish one of the paint companies would copy that Delta, the Delta grays that they used. I don't know if anybody does. I know I could get it custom mixed. Oh, there we go. That's one can done. Okay, I'm going to bring you back maybe for a little bit of the second and third coats, but maybe not. And chances are we'll finish spraying today and do assembly tomorrow. So how does that grab you? Well, as you can tell, the paint is dry, and I've been putting in the bolts or the carriage bolts, I guess, that I painted the other day. And this seems to be working quite well. What I've found is that I need to put a larger washer. I believe this is a 7/16 washer that goes over the shoulder. And with the two layers and that washer, the bolt or the nut, sorry, pushes everything tight. So I found a way to make this work, and I've got quite a bit of hardware here. I'm a little short of these larger washers, so basically all I'm doing is pushing this in, pushing it like that, putting the big washer on, putting the lock washer on, and then putting the nut on. And this is a little bit of an awkward place to work. Um, but it seems to go on. Whoops! Dropped a wrench. Okay, we'll just tighten this one up. Now, the one bad thing about, like in the original stand, these holes are square, and that makes it so that the bolt or the carriage bolt locks in place. Whereas with what I'm doing now, and so far I've been quite fortunate, the 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 nut, this doesn't really lock. It just kind of will eventually start to spin. But I've been really fortunate so far. I've got all of them quite tight, like they're very tight. This isn't turning anywhere. Uh, I really like the look of this. I have to admit, I had the stand yesterday evening in the shop. The stand was dry, so I put it down and just put a couple of bolts in loosely, and then threw the scroll saw on. I thought, yeah, it looks really, really good. So it looks like I've got to search for some washers. So I'm going to finish this up, and then we're going to put the feet on, and we're going to put the scroll saw on, and this one is done. So I'll be back in a bit. Well, the bolts are in. It worked really good. the odd one would want to spin around and I couldn't tighten it, so I just put a vice grip on the other end and locked it and then tightened them up. I feel sorry as I as I was working on this. I thought, okay, someday I will sell this saw, and some poor guy is going to try to take this stand apart by taking the bolts out. So, but by then I'll be done with it, so I probably won't care. But there's only a couple of steps remaining. One of them is to put the feet on, and I was amazed that I found these feet. I forget what search I used to find them, but they actually work. I was thinking they'd probably be too wide in here for the light gauge metal I was using, but they seem to work just fine. So let's slide a couple on here and get this project done. My paint on the inside isn't as good as it could be. There's a few runs that I didn't bother wiping and respraying, so it's not perfect, but it's going to be a very, very good addition. And one of the things I've been doing while I've been working on the scroll saw is I'm fortunate enough to have a big screen TV in the shop, and while I'm working, I have various things playing. And since I've been working on scroll saws, I've been watching a bunch of scroll saw videos, and man, oh man, there's a lot that can go into the simple process of scrolling. So I think I'm going to get into it because it looks like it would be a great thing if I'm going to be teaching classes out of my shop, which I am already. I think the a scroll saw class would be an excellent addition. So we're going to work on that. But hey, the feet are on. Let's see what this thing looks like. I don't even know if you can see that. Let's move it up. Maybe that's the better idea. I don't know. To me, it looks really good. One of the things I know when I'm working on something, I sometimes get a little bit disappointed. And I don't think I'm alone here. I get a little disappointed because I know where I struggled and I know where I made little mistakes and or things didn't work out the way I wanted. And I kind of get a little bit down on myself because of that. But usually when it's done, I'm okay with it. So, and this, we're just going to set it down where it belongs. And I'm going to get the saw and we're going to put the saw on. And this project is going to be done. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Well, we're down to the final stage. I'm okay with it so far. It looks okay. So let's grab this scroll saw here. Oh, okay, this is the one that I drove down to. Where did I go to get this one? Wynyard. Anyway, about 2.5 hours from here, something like that. Just trying to get the holes to line up. Okay, there's one. That looks good. Okay, so now I need to find the bolts. I'm using 5/16 by 1.5 inches long. And the problem is with these bolts here, you get this intersection and there's not much room to put the nut on. And even the original stand is like that. So, but it's going to work. I was thinking I should paint the heads of the bolt, but I don't think it's going to matter. We're just going to put them on. I just need to go to the bench and find them. Well, you can tell, or I can tell, I'm getting in kind of a hurry to finish this off. I can see how nice it's going to look. And yes, I painted the bolts to go in, but I couldn't wait for them to dry properly. So I already have them in here. I didn't tighten them yet. I yeah, I kind of forget that I'm filming this too, because like I say, I'm in a hurry to get this done now, so I can drag it around and and start to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So, now I'm going to just take uh, a new one, 5/16 nut, and a lock washer. One of the tricks that I have that makes it so I don't have to have so many bins. Yeah, I know I have a lot behind me, but I tend to mix the nuts, the lock washers, and the flat washers in one bucket. And I think that actually works really well because when I'm doing a project, I'll need all three, so I'll just grab the bin and I have it all. So that's actually worked out pretty good. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Like I said, there's a lot of traffic with bolts under here. Yeah, like this one. I'm going to have to lift it up to get it started. Well, that may not quite do it. It's going to be a bit of a pain. So I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to show you. Is there an easier one? Yeah, that one over there. Let's do that one. See, it already moves so nicely. As I was saying, I was watching content on YouTube. Got to move around a bit about scroll saws. There's some really good scroll saw videos out there. I should take note of them. I didn't really pay attention to whose video I was watching, but they mentioned things that you should have for your scroll saws, some accessories. And the one thing they mentioned right away was a stand. And boy, oh boy, do I agree. After after working with kids in here, yeah, there you really, really, really need to have things on stands. And I'm gonna mess up the finish on these bolts a little bit. I might just take a little brush and put some black paint on. Yeah, I know that's really becoming ridiculous as to how obsessed I am with getting this perfect. Okay, now this is in, but I'm not going to tighten this yet until I have all of them in and started. Then I'll tighten them because I don't want to, I don't know if I have things perfectly aligned yet. So let's do that. Tell you what, I'll bring you back when I'm done because I mean, you've watched me do this before. Okay, we'll be back when it's done. Well, that didn't go anywhere as easily as I thought it would. It's much later in the afternoon now. Uh, there's quite a traffic jam here of bolts, and to get the washers and nut onto the one going up, in the end, I laid the saw down on its side, took one of the bolts out, that one of these bolts out, gave me a little bit of room. But eventually I got it, and I'm really happy with it. The height is nice. The stand is solid. It's got rubber feet on it, so it won't move around. It looks very much like the pattern that I used. If I would give that one paint, it would look the same. But I don't want to do that. I don't have time. So in the short term, I'm going to finish the second one. I'm probably about one third done. I've got the top to cut, and actually, luckily, I thought of that while I had the saw off of here, and I measured some things and made some patterns with the marker. So I just have to cut on my lines there, and then the top will work out as well. Uh, I think this is going to be a worthwhile project. My I think my goal right now is to eventually offer a bunch of adult classes in my shop. And I think the two units I'll start with are wood turning and the scroll saw. So now that I have three scroll saws, and boy, over Christmas I had my grandkids here and I sure could have used a fourth. So I have some ideas. I should have gone and bought that one in Rosetown a while back, but I didn't. So I've got some ideas that I'll need to see if I can make work out. But in the meantime, maybe in the future I'll give you a little bit of a cost breakdown of this. The problem with something like this is I could go to a place and just buy, what do I need, 12 screws or 12 pieces to hold it together, or carriage bolts and flat washers, lock washers, and nuts. I'm not sure what those combinations cost. Also, the rubber feet, I had to buy a bag of them, so I have rubber feet till the end of time. But the steel for both stands is about $100. That I remember. And the paint, it's taking a bit more paint to paint each stand. It took me 2 cans to paint each stand. So I'm not sure what the Rust-Oleum is now here in Canada. I have to check when I go into the city tomorrow, but probably about 17, $18 a can, I'm guessing. So that's another $40. Let's say $40 gets us the feet as well. I would say $150 for two stands. Uh, Considering I'd have a hard time buying these stands, and I did not want to make a stand out of wood. I find the wooden stands that I've seen for scroll saws to be kind of heavy and clunky. And they're maybe okay if you're staying kind of in one place, but these things are going to move all over the shop. And all I've got to do is grab the table and drag them. They work really good. I don't have to click wheels and, lock casters at the end. I think this is exactly what I wanted. And, to give credit to the engineers at Delta at the time, that's a perfect stand for that saw. So anyway, I've got a little bit more work to do on these scroll saws and a stand to build. But my goal is that for sure by next September, or this coming September, when potentially we'll start working with younger kids again, that my scroll saws will be completely ready to go. Basically, plug them in, hit the switch, and then, of course, I got looking and I've been watching some scroll saw video on YouTube, and they talk about the proper height. And yes, the chair is important, but oh my goodness, then I went and looked at Princess Auto and they have adjustable stools, which would be really, really the way to go here. So we'll see. I'll go take a look. I don't know if I've got room for another 4 stools in my shop, but hey, we'll see. But anyway, this was fun. I'm very happy with the outcome. It didn't go exactly as I planned all the way along, but we got it done. The second one, I think, will maybe go faster because I'll have a better idea of what I'm doing. So with that in mind, please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.